In today's English listening lesson, I will read a story to help improve your English listening skills and then discuss the meaning of a few important English vocabulary words. Well, hello, students. I hope you're having a fantastic day and welcome to another episode of Parlay with Jay. Today, I have a B-2 English listening practice video. As always, use this video to practice your listening skills. And if you want some of my longer, more in-depth English lessons, use the links in the description below. Today, I have a story that I know you will enjoy and it will help improve your English. I have called it The Appointment. Let's get ready for a little bit of learning and laughter and dive into today's story. Lizzie sat in her room staring at the appointment card in her hand. Tomorrow, she had to go to the dentist for a root canal, and she was terrified. She had heard scary stories about how painful it could be. Her best friend Sarah had told her it's the worst thing ever. Lizzie's heart started to race every time she thought about her appointment on the next day. At dinner, Lizzie played with her food and didn't take eating very seriously. In fact, she didn't eat much at all. Her dad noticed and said, "Lizzie, what's wrong?" Lizzie sighed and said, "I don't want to get the root canal, Dad. I think it will be a disaster." Her dad smiled gently and said, "I know it sounds scary, but the dentist will actually help you. The root canal will fix your tooth and stop the infection." "But what if it hurts a lot?" Lizzie asked with a voice that was shaking. Her dad explained, "The dentist will use a special numbing medicine. You won't feel much during the procedure." The next day, Lizzie sat nervously while waiting in the dentist waiting room. Her hands were cold. Her stomach felt like it was twisting into knots. When the nurse called her name, Lizzie almost said she wanted to go home and cancel her appointment, but she did not. She gathered her courage, thought about what her father said, and followed the nurse to the big chair. The dentist greeted her kindly. "Don't worry, Lizzie. We'll take good care of you. You'll feel better soon." He gave her the numbing medicine, and to Lizzie's surprise, it worked. She barely felt anything as the dentist worked on her tooth. An hour later, Lizzie walked out of the office with a sense of relief. Her tooth no longer hurt, and the dentist told her she had been very brave and the procedure went well. She got home. Lizzie called Sarah and said, "Guess what? The root canal wasn't so bad after all." Lizzie laughed. "See, you're stronger than you think." That night, Lizzie smiled as she brushed her teeth. She realized that sometimes the things we fear the most aren't as scary as we think they are. Wow. Isn't that the truth? Sometimes our imagination gets the best of us and we psych ourselves out to think certain things are worse than what they actually are. So at this time, let's take a few moments and go through some of the key vocabulary words from today's story. The first one is actually in the title, appointment. An appointment is a scheduled time to meet someone. So you might say, I have an appointment at the doctor's office tomorrow. Or you may simply say, I can't go. Can we schedule another time because I have a conflicting appointment? In other words, you have something scheduled at the same time. Terrified. When someone is terrified, they are extremely afraid or scared. There are some people that are terrified of cats or terrified of dogs. What is something that causes you to be terrified? Now, here's a tricky word, race. Now, you can race if you're trying to determine who is fastest. So, two cars can race, three people can race. But remember in the story, Lizzie's heart raced. What does that mean? It means that her heart moved or beat very quickly. And so you might use race in the context of a sentence like, I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'm going to race to the store and I'll be right back. Disaster is another word from the story that I want you to know. A very bad or terrible event. So you might say the Twin Towers in New York on September 11th fell to the ground. It was a disaster. Or if you want to say something that's not as major, you may say, you know what? The date night was a complete disaster. The food was cold, the movie started late, and we ran out of gas in our car. It was a disaster. Infection. A sickness caused by bacteria or germs. And let me remind you, if you want this list of vocabulary words and the story to study later, there's a link down in the description that you can use, and it will take you to the PDF. So an infection is a sickness caused by bacteria or germs. So you might say, wash that cut off. You don't want it to get infected, okay? Or you don't want to get an infection, okay? Or you might tell your wife, hey, I can't give you a kiss. I have a tooth infection. And it's causing my breath to smell. Numbing. Numbing. So remember, Lizzie received a numbing agent to help with the pain in her mouth. So when you numb something, you apply something that makes you unable to feel pain. Okay. They used to call it Novocaine when you would go to the dentist and have a procedure. And Novocaine would numb your gums and your mouth. Finally, twisting. All right. Twisting, to turn or bend in a tight way. So you might say, stop twisting my arm. Okay. Or you might say, look, I don't want to play anymore. My mind is cluttered. I feel like my mind is twisted in a knot. Okay. So in other words, we use twisting when we describe our mental state as something that's difficult to solve or think about. But here in the story, twisting had to do with turning or bending in a tight way. So these are about 7 words that you can find on the PDF: twisting, numbing, infection, disaster, race, appointment, and terrified. Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's listening lesson. Be sure to go back and listen again to help familiarize yourself with a few words that you may not know or can pronounce. I truly know that listening to someone speak will help you to strengthen your listening skills, especially when it comes to speaking English. Well, with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson. Be sure to share it with someone that you know that is trying to improve their lesson and again, their English. And again, if you want today's PDF, follow the link down in the description. As always, I hope you join me on my next English lesson.